Good evening. I hope everybody is doing well. Please let's come together in peace and love and harmony. And let's come shoulder to shoulder rather than all this hatred and division what the people above want. Obviously, today and yesterday was a sad day. Yesterday was the first part of my cousin, who you can see behind me, my dad's cousin. Um, he lost his fight with 13-month battle with pancreatic cancer. The service was so beautiful. And then he obviously put into the car and obviously he got taken to obviously Sky for, because obviously I'm filming in early hours in the morning. Because all I've done is cry. Because it's so emotional. It was so funny and banter with you and but he's obviously that's where he's wanting to get buried. So obviously his wife and his children decided to do a service here for a lot of people that couldn't go. They served his funeral in Skye as in now today. So I totally appreciated that because I wouldn't have been able to make it to there. But I'll go up one day and actually visit and pay my respects after for Christmas. Once it's a wee bit warmer. But my heart goes out to obviously his mum and dad, as in my great aunt and uncle, and his siblings, his wife, and his children, and his grandchildren. What I'm going to be speaking about is just wee favourite short scary stories, and it's by a girl called Zoea Marland, and it says class 12. There's nothing I love more than scary stories, the adrenaline, the rush of fear. If you know me, then you should know how much I love telling creepy tales, especially during a sleepover with my friends. What I enjoyed the most were the short collections. The most were the short collections that I collected online as a kid. And I thought it might be fun to share these stories with everyone until this day. Whenever I tell these stories, it never fails to impress. So here they are, 5 of some of obviously my favourite short scary stories. I love things like this. And here's the first one. It's called Who's in My Bed? A father went to say goodnight to his 7-year-old son, very well knowing that if he did, his son would have trouble sleeping. I've had that with my children when they were growing up. They like to know that you say goodnight. And now my grandson is the same. He likes to know that you're there. Um, it was it was a nightly routine between them. He entered the dimly lit room where his son waited under his blanket. With the first glance, the father could tell there was something unusual about his son tonight, but couldn't put his finger on it. He looked the same, but had a grin that drew from ear to ear. You okay, buddy? The father asked. The son nodded. He'd still with the grin before saying, Daddy, checked for monsters under my bed. The father chuckled a bit before getting on his knees to check only to satisfy his son. Obviously, when your kids feel, give me a second, I've got mother and son cat actually together, going to argue with each other. It's like the typical, it's like their children. Give me 2 seconds, I'm going to go throw them out. Right, come on, guys. Let's go, children. Come on. That's it. Be nice to each other now. Thank you. I'm not joking. Your pets are just exactly like um, um, small children, constantly needing to be reassured and things like that. Just like as it says, anyway. We'll go back anyway. Obviously, it says you okay, buddy? The father nodded. The son nodded, but still with the grin, before saying, Daddy, check for monsters under my bed. The father chuckled a bit before getting on his knees to check, only to satisfy his son. There, under the bed, pale and afraid, was his son, his real son. He whispered, Daddy, there's someone on my bed. The cabin. That was not too bad. It wasn't scary. It was just, but it's just a typical kid thing, isn't it? Mom, or Dad, can you check under the bed? It's like, but see if you're sitting telling your kids about or showing, don't things. Don't put the fear into your children about things, because that is where they end up having nightmares and things. But always reassure them and things like that to make sure that um, that everything's okay and nothing will ever come to harm to them. The cabin. A hiker decided to go on a hike by himself. Something he was not ve- something he was not very used to. The whole day was normal. Trees and bushes engulfed his surroundings. He enjoyed being outdoors in the mountains. I used to love going hill walking with my dad. Up in so many places. And as a child, where I stayed, there was big forestry. Um, and it was like we used to do like walks up there all the time. My dad made sure we had to love nature and things like that into your blood. And it's because he always said, if you look after nature, nature will look after you. And it's not just him that said it; it was his dad and his mum, as in his aunt and uncle, and my mum's mum as well. So being outdoors is really good, but getting up there now it's I've heard a lot of not very good sort of stories. No very nice people hang about there now. He enjoyed being outdoors in the mountains. Nothing seemed strange to him. That was until he was making his way back to the car. He figured an 8 hour hike was good enough. The sky was already getting dark, and he needed to get back fast. What was odd was how much he didn't recognise the trail back. He began to panic. Me and my dad's done that, but we managed to get out, um, back out, because obviously my dad done walks different directions. But we did get lost once or twice, um, because you can easily do it. It's very easily done. So it is, especially when you're taking everything in and on the walks, because you leave. We used to leave for 4 o'clock in the morning, be there for 6, and then we'd be back for the time we were back. It'd be mid afternoon, so it was a long day. It was a long trip, and it was like you're tired, you're smelly. It was sweat. So yeah, night had already taken over, and all he had was a flashlight and no clue on how to get back. He knew it was already too late and too dangerous to keep going through the treacherous forest. He began to worry that he would have no shelter for the night when almost luckily enough he stumbled across a broken down cabin. It was dark and seemed like no one had visited in years, but he knew it was the only place he could rest until daylight, especially since his flashlight was running out of battery. That's one thing we never are taking because we went there and came back luckily in time. But the things that, and it's not the things that we did, we went up without any, we had our boots and all the rest of it, our bags, but we never had any form of ropes or anything. When we done mountain climbing, we went bare hands and up and down. And that was sore coming. Believe me, it's sore coming down. I mean, you seen everybody. I was very young when I went out. My youngest was, I think it was 11, and getting to the top of up at Glencoe, up the top peak. Um, it was. I remember there was a lot of French people there, and I were clapping because I was the youngest person to get up there. So it was. But getting down was because you think you have the slates on the roof. Now these are all crumpled and broken up on, and you're talking about 200 foot down deep. If you fall, that's it. You're gone. So you've got to slide down all it. But as in my taste, I went in my bum. I was not doing what all the Frenchmen were doing on my dad. I was like, I'm going to my backside. I'm not doing what you've done. It's crazy. I was only a wee girl. I did, it wasn't anyway. But obviously, especially since his flashlight was running out of battery, he knocked on the door a few times, but no one answered. So he let himself in. Where strangely enough, a perfect bed fitted for one person awaited him in the centre. He knew that if the owner came back, he could explain himself, but he was sure that the owner wouldn't mind, or was even probably dead. So he went ahead and got himself comfortable in bed. As he tried to sleep, he couldn't ignore the collection of paintings around the room. Portraits of strange looking people all peering at him, each wearing a smile that sent chills up his spine. Not too long after the exhaustion from the hike got the best of him and he was able to ignore the faces. The next morning he got up early and was shocked to see that there were no paintings around the room but windows. A bit of pareidolia, especially when you're in the middle of nowhere and you've got the fear running over you, and then you wake up and you go, that wasn't even there. The red wristband. I've heard this sort of story, a few stories like this, to be honest with you, from nurses and things like that. So a doctor was working at a hospital. A hospital where the patient was tagged with coloured bands. Green was for alive, red was for deceased. One night, the doctor was instructed to get a few supplies from the basement of the hospital, and so he headed to the lift. The lift doors opened, and there was a patient inside, minding her own business. Patients were allowed to roam around the hospital to stretch, especially those who have stayed long. The rule was to be back in their rooms before 10. The doctor smiled at the patient before pressing the number for the basement. He found it unusual that the woman didn't have a button already pressed. He wondered if she was heading to the basement too. The lift finally reached the floor where the doors opened. In the distance, a man was limping towards the elevator, and in a panic, the doctor slammed the elevator button to close. It did, and the lift began to ascend back up. The doctor's heart pounding. Why did you do that? He was trying to use the lift, the woman stated, annoyed. Did you see his wrist? The doctor asked. It was red. He died last night. I would know because I did the surgery. The woman smiled. He saw red. She smiled. Like this one. That was quite good. I mean, I have heard stories of patients passing, and then they have doctors or nurses have seen them, and obviously it was like, oh, hold on a minute, I'm sure they asked and asked if you, and they're like, no, they passed away at this time. So I have heard that. Um, White with red. A man just moved into an apartment and heads to the reception to get his keys. The receptionist gave him the key with a smile, but warns him not to disturb the door with no number on his floor. He wondered why, but didn't bother to ask. He was too busy with his new apartment to care. After he finished unpacking, he began to get curious. He questioned why the reception would warn him of such things, and so he stepped out of his apartment to check the door with no number. I think anybody would be, if you were told about don't disturb such and such, you would question things. In life, always question things, always question. It doesn't matter what it is, question yourself, question other, but yeah. He tried the doorknob first, but it was locked. So instead, he got on his knees and peeked through the keyhole. The, the apartment he was looking into was empty. His eyes scanned the whole place before stopping at a woman standing face against a wall in the corner. He noticed her pale skin and long black hair before stepping back, suddenly feeling perverted in a way for invading someone else's privacy. He brushed it off, assuming she was someone that did not want to be disturbed. The next day, he got more curious about the woman and eventually went back. Straight away, getting on his knees, he peeked through the keyhole and saw all red. Red? He assumed that the pale woman must have caught him peeking the last time and covered the hole with something red. He left the door alone and instead went down to the reception to ask her questions. The receptionist sighed and asked, You looked through the keyhole, didn't you? He admitted to it, and so she felt obliged to tell him the story. She told him that a couple used to live in the apartment a long time ago, but the husband went crazy and killed his wife. However, this couple wasn't normal. They had pale skin, black hair, and red eyes. So what he was looking at wasn't red paint on the keyhole, it was the red eyes. A mother's call. A daughter was in her room upstairs doing her homework when suddenly she heard her mother call to come down for dinner. She jumped onto her feet and began making her way towards the stairs. But before even took a step, hands grabbed her and pulled her into the laundry room beside the staircase. She panicked before realising it was her mother, her real mother. Eyes watery, and Bloodshot. Don't go down there, honey. I heard it too. That was good to be. That was for the wee stories. That was really, really good. Um, and maybe I'll read some more at another time. As if you want to, and if you want, just let me know, and I'll also just anyway, just leave it in the comments and say if you want or not. So sending love and light, and good night.